All right, good morning, everybody. Can everyone see my screen? Maybe a thumbs up or yeah or something in the chat. All right, perfect. I see Vern. Thank you. So welcome to 2025. I don't know, the way the last 48 hours or so have went, if this is a sign of 2025, I'm ready for 2026, as I'm sure all of you are too. We'll get to a little more of that in a minute. Um, anyway, thank you for joining us. We are recording this. We'll post this out to our YouTube channel. We thought today was going to be a really short, kind of a little low on the information side, but I think with the changes since late in the day on Tuesday up to now, that's probably going to change. So even though on the agenda you're going to see me run a 9 to 9:20, that's probably not realistic, but we'll see if we can adhere to it. So I'll probably likely apologize in advance for running over, but real quickly, my PowerHub. Back before the holidays, we did two different demos of my PowerHub. And for those of you who are not familiar, my PowerHub is PowerSchool's new, kind of, I would say, highly anticipated replacement of the existing parent-student portal. At the time, we were looking at pricing and trying to figure out if we could do a large group purchase for all of the districts. I think it was going to be really difficult for us to do a purchase for all districts. So we're kind of going a slightly different route, and what we originally asked for from PowerSchool was more of a broken down version of my PowerHub, meaning you'll get the shell of my PowerHub at no cost. And we will be rolling that out. We will be sunsetting the parent-student portal toward the end of this year. The anticipation right at the moment is that we will completely de-support the parent-student portal in time for the start of next school year. All of our districts will be moved over to my PowerHub. More details to follow. I don't have a whole lot of additional information other than that. There will be no charge to you for the My PowerHub. We will, as Meta, we will set up, we will deploy the My PowerHub. We'll train you. We'll do all of those necessary acts as we roll this out. So that's the good news. And unfortunately, I think that's the only good news that I have for you in my presentation. Let me jump over here. All right. So starting Tuesday, there's been a lot of change with, we were just finding out about it. We were playing crazy catch up and trying to figure out what transpired as far as the data breach that's been communicated from PowerSchool. So I want to start off by saying a huge thank you. Couple things. Those of you that have reached out to us saying, hey, just validating that we're aware of the situation, validating that, different information and different things that you're hearing, whether it be through the PSUG.io group, through some of the Reddit, different areas. There's a lot of information coming at us all from a lot of different areas. I do appreciate that. I don't want you to stop sharing that information. I also want to thank everybody on the team. They've been really patient as we're trying to figure this out as well. Corey Hilliard, especially Corey, really was able to produce some really important information for us to kind of break this down for you today and kind of what happened and where we're at and all of this. Okay. So this is a timeline. There's probably a few things I'm missing off of here, but this is a general timeline of what's transpired since Tuesday, January 7th. At about 1:50, we received the same email message that I believe all of you would have received from PowerSchool. Pretty relaxed, pretty generic in terms of just informing us that there was in fact a cybersecurity incident. We then recommunicated that email message to all of you toward the end of the day on January 7th. That kicked off an internal process for Meta, where Wednesday morning at 9 a.m., I met with our internal cybersecurity team. We sat down, we reviewed our Meta incident response plan, and we're going to continue to proceed forward through that plan. Okay. Just some additional details that we were able to kind of find and determine. That information was communicated to all of you yesterday, initially at 11:28, 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon. I myself, as well as some of the other senior leadership here at Meta, we participated in the PowerSchool cybersecurity incident webinar. I'm sure many of you participated as well. There is one more of those webinars today at 11 o'clock. I would highly encourage you, if you as a district have not participated in one of those, I would encourage you to participate. One of the things you really have to understand about this situation, this is not something that we're in complete control of. This was an incident that derived from PowerSchool. They are, they are taking the due diligence steps that they need to take. Um, so we're waiting for some of that information to be disseminated from them as well. One of the key components of that is they will produce for us a complete incident report, which should tell us some of the intricate details of how this occurred, what data was breached, etc. Some of those details we already know, but I'll share some of that with you in a minute. As a result of the webinar yesterday, it was pointed out to us that PowerSchool had disabled remote support on all of their hosted servers. So we proceeded with the same steps yesterday afternoon. We were able to disable the remote support on all of our hosted servers around 5:17 yesterday afternoon. Okay. Last night or yesterday afternoon, about 5:41, I sent out some additional email with some additional details. We'll continue to do this throughout the process. So as we find additional information, again, this is an evolving, scenario. It's changing minute by minute. So we'll continue to be transparent and share all the information that we have. And then last night at about 9:07, I saw from our communications team, the same information was distributed out. And that went out to the communications email list, which is good because that should include your superintendent, more of your high level staff, or even I believe your tech coordinators, folks like that at your district. Okay. This is a screenshot directly from PowerSchool's webinar yesterday. This explains what happened, what their containment and remediation plan is and was, as well as the impact to the data. I'm not going to read all of this to you. We're going to talk about a few of these bullet items in a couple of later slides here. A couple of the main points, though, that I wanted to circle is that they do feel the incident is contained. So any data that was extracted from our systems has been destroyed. I don't know the details of that. Until we get this full incident report from PowerSchool, I don't know that any of us can answer some of the specific questions that you guys are going to have as it relates to, probably social security numbers and things like that. Okay. I think the other main point here is the impact of that data and where it went and how's it going to be, where is this data going to show up down the road? And again, you can read between the lines a little bit. They're saying they do not anticipate the data being shared or made public, obviously. But that doesn't change the course of action and the remediation that all of us need to do, including yourselves as districts. Okay. So the impact to us and what we have seen, which is we're seeing the exact same behavior on all of our servers that has been disseminated from PowerSchool. It's the same information that's being disseminated from all of the other PowerSchool sys users around the world out on PSUG.io. So this is, that's probably the first thing for you to really understand. This is not just a meta incident. This is an incident that only affects the PowerSchool sys application. So any of PowerSchool's other applications were unaffected by this. So from my sitting down with the cybersecurity team internal yesterday, they were able to go back and review sys logs. and determined that in this case, this bad actor, this hacker was able to gain access to our servers or to us as an environment around, or not around, it was the earliest we saw was 1220. Okay. The data then was breached or exfiltrated, stolen, exported, whatever word you want to use, at two different points on December 22nd. And that is consistent across all of our PowerSchool SIS environments, with maybe one or two anomalies in there. But most of these were conducted at 6:30 in the morning on December 22nd, and again at 9:11 p.m. on December 22nd. The first incident, they pulled off or exfiltrated all of the data or a lot of the data from the teacher's table. And the second incident, they exfiltrated all or most of the data from the student's table. Okay. I've communicated this a couple times. I don't know if I'm not communicating it clearly enough, but it seems like every time I send an email message out, I get at least a handful of responses back saying, does this mean our PowerSchool SIS server was compromised? Yes, 100%. Every single PowerSchool SIS server we host was compromised. And again, this is not something that was unique to Meta. Not that that softens the blow, because it certainly doesn't for us. But every single PowerSchool SIS server that we host was compromised. Okay. A little more detail of how this came about. PowerSchool has a support portal called PowerSource. And in PowerSource, they use PowerSchool support staff uses that as kind of I guess, a jump off point when they're accessing PowerSchool servers, whether those be hosted or non-hosted. So that these connections came in from this compromised PowerSchool support account listed here, 200A0. It's either A0 or AO. I'm not certain, but I believe it's A0. The IP address that we saw consistently, and again, this wasn't just from us, this was across what PowerSchool is reporting. This is what's being reported out on the PSUG.io group as well. The IP address these connections were coming from was this 91.218.50.11. Okay. We've taken steps to restrict and block any further activity. This particular IP address was coming from Ukraine. The network team has taken steps to block any further connections coming from Ukraine. They're also continuing to review and make changes to this, how we're restricting IP addresses and what IP addresses we are restricting. Okay. As I mentioned in the previous slide, we have disabled the remote support. We did that in mass yesterday afternoon around 5:15, 5:17. I'm sharing with you the path for that information and how that information and how you go in and if you needed to toggle that back on, it's simply in the system management security, there's a system security settings screen. And then there are two toggles. There's one for disable remote support and there's an enable remote support. I have no problem with districts going back in and double checking to make sure that is in fact disabled. PowerSchool, as a result of this entire exfiltration, they are obviously re-reviewing their process that they use for their internal report, their internal PowerSchool support staff to connect to our servers. I would expect more of those details to come out in this full incident report, as well as beyond, as to how they're changing that so that this does not occur again. Okay. And I think, as I've already said, we are continuing to review our current network restrictions. Like I said, we've blocked all network activity coming from Ukraine. We'll continue to monitor and make those changes. All right, I want to hit pause. I don't know if there's questions coming in, if there's questions anybody wants to take off mute, or if you guys want to hold questions until the end, but I want to give you an opportunity to
Hey, Eric, I have a quick question regarding inactive or active. Do we have an answer on that yet? Was it just active students?
I think based on what we're able to see in the system logs, we're not able to determine, we can determine record counts. And, again, part of this is, this is a changing, this isn't a fire drill, this is the real deal, but we haven't been through this before. So a big question I'm going to have at the end of all of this for you guys is, what do you need from us? What are these, and maybe that's one of the questions you need us to dig into those record counts a bit more. And I don't know that we can, Corey, you may have to speak up here. I don't know that we can pull that data from the system logs in a way. It's a log. It's a, it's not going to give us specifics in terms of which students, I believe, or which teachers were compromised. But I think we can dive into those counts maybe a little bit more. Is that correct, Corey?
Yeah, and we'll double check the counts in the logs. It should be easy enough to identify if it was all enrolled or all, but I'm leaning towards all.
Hey, Eric, this is Vern.
Yeah, Vern.
Yeah, I basically had the same kind of question. Same with the teachers. Is it all teachers that have ever, been in PowerSchool versus just active teachers? One thought I had, and I'm just spitballing ideas here. I seriously was considering grabbing all those fields and just doing an export myself. Pick like 25 kids, do an export, and see what, see what data is in there. That was just something I was thinking about doing more out of curiosity. For example, in your message yesterday, right, you had mentioned social security fields. I've already checked a handful of kids. We do not have that information populated, which got me thinking what other fields are empty that weren't compromised. So that's just my 2 cents. And thank you again to you and the team for your help with all this. It's greatly appreciated.
Oh, I appreciate the comment, but it's a good point. You can look at those. You can look at the field list that we sent out yesterday afternoon for both the teachers and the students. Yeah, absolutely. It looks like a big scary list. But again, as we're going to talk here in a minute, especially when it comes to Social Security numbers, that is not something that we would expect you to be storing in PowerSchool. That isn't something that, from my perspective, we've asked districts to store for the past 20 years. So I guess the point being, yeah, you would want to review those data elements and go, hey, even though the list looks scary, what data is actually in there? How much of this is really personally identifiable information? We can help you guys through that the best we can, but again, it's, some of this is, everybody's in a slightly different situation. Everybody does something slightly different, with your own local policies and procedures.
Would it be possible for Meta to build a template, a data export template that we could just run to say, yeah, obviously it would be up to us to do inactive, active student selection and staff and teacher selection, to just see what data was there, so we could then sit down as a team and say, maybe there was protected health information in a health alert field. Sometimes they add medication for seizures in that field. So, and then we can hone in on who we need to actually. The district can take a blanket statement out and then hone in on who we actually need to contact for HIPAA violations. Something that
I think that's a fantastic idea. Absolutely. We can absolutely take those same subset of fields that we're seeing that were extracted in every scenario. We can pull those out. We could build those into a couple of quick data exports. We should be able to push those out to everybody, and we could communicate to you how to go in and generate that same information. I think that's an excellent idea.
Perfect. Thanks, Eric. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. One thing I do want to say, and this has come up, I just want to address it before any of you, I'm sure some of you have the same question. I mean, if you were storing Social Security numbers, and I'm not going to lie, we did a count yesterday to review how many districts are storing Social Security numbers, and I'm more than a little surprised. The question that's come up, though, is in that exfiltration of those Social Security numbers, was the encryption of those Social Security numbers compromised? There's no way for me to determine that at the moment. Okay. That is not us as Meta. That is not me as the manager of the PowerSchool SIS team here at Meta trying to hide anything from any of you. That is simply, I'm giving you the information that I have at the moment. Okay.
I'm sorry,
The
are the social security numbers actually encrypted? Like when I do an export of my students, if I choose SSN as one of the fields, the social security are in plain text.
Okay. And that we need to look at that. We need to review that as a whole. But that was one of the questions that came up this morning. I don't know if anybody else on the team has a better answer on that than I, but
yeah, I will talk a little bit about it, but I think that
Okay.
social security numbers are not encrypted. Passwords are. I saw somebody put in the chat something about passwords, but those are encrypted. After Eric's presentation, Sally and I have a presentation to show you how to find your social security numbers and delete them out of your system.
okay.
So just to understand, the passwords are encrypted, so we don't need to worry about resetting any passwords or anything.
As you recall, the password encryption was tightened up last spring.
Okay.
We had, people complain because, well, I can no longer see the passwords for students and teachers and whatever. But now that turns out that was a good thing.
Right.
Now, what we can't speak to is what Eric said is, was any encryption compromised? We don't know that. We can't answer that.
Another comment is if you're going to show districts how to remove social security numbers, they're going to run you shouldn't remove them until you can actually pull what was pulled, in my opinion.
No, you're 100% right. Anything that was compromised, you're going to want to be able to pull that data so that you have that as reference down the road.
Right. And
before you go in and purge this data.
That is our suggestion too.
Okay.
That, as part of our presentation, we'll show you that where you're not just going in and deleting it, you are keeping it before you do anything.
Most of this, I think I've already.
How are the passwords encrypted? Is it hashed? Are they salted and hashed?
I'd have to look into it to determine. I just know that the passwords are in fact encrypted. I don't know. It's outside of my expertise area. So type of encryption. Okay. All right. Most of this, I think we've already hit. Just again, reiterating the two tables that were affected as far as data that was exfiltrated from the system. Teachers table, there were 97 fields total in the teachers table that was exfiltrated. In the students table, there were 153 fields that were exfiltrated. So I think as Sean made reference to Vermilion, we'll create some data exports that you guys can use that'll duplicate those same 97 fields for the teachers table, as well as the 153 fields from the students table. We'll get those out to you as quickly as we can. And we'll get that communicated to you so you have the ability to at least pull and replicate the data that was exfiltrated.
Eric, this is Chris in Kettering. Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you know, were the fields necessary to create new parent accounts exfiltrated in the student table? And if so, do you guys have any recommendation on how to ensure that that's not leveraged by the bad actors?
Yeah, I don't know if we've even had a chance to, I mean, we haven't talked about it as a team yet. We're still trying to figure this out ourselves. So you're talking about the from the student side, the access ID,
Yeah.
access
think
ID
those
and the
fields are
access
in there.
password.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
The other question that I had was, is Meta planning, or have you guys considered like coming up with some common language for the member districts to utilize an initial, public or notification to the public for consistency?
I'm gonna have to default to senior leadership on that. I can tell you I think from our initial stances, we want to see what communication package comes out from PowerSchool directly. Now, is that to say that, we should probably draft up something that's kind of a cover letter to that information? Potentially, but that'll definitely be something on the default to senior leadership.
Okay, thank you.
Do you know when PowerSchool will have that initial package ready?
I just added that to chat from my PowerSchool contact. It's expected to be sent out within the next 1 or 2 days. They have some legal clearance that it needs to do for credit monitoring.
Thank you, Sean. That was the impression I was getting yesterday as part of the webinar. I think they have every intent of trying to get that out before the end of this week, but we haven't heard any commitment as far as the timeline. Okay. So next steps. If you haven't already, oh my goodness, make sure that you're informing your staff at your district. Superintendent, tech coordinator, everybody that you can communicate, disseminate, share this information with. If you haven't already, you need to be doing so. Okay. There's one more PowerSchool webinar. It's today at 11. So I don't know if we'll be done here by 11, but hopefully. And if you haven't participated in one of those, I would encourage you to do so. PowerSchool has also created a frequently asked question document. It's pretty good so far. There's, I don't know, 4 or 5, maybe 6 pages of information there. They're committed to continually update that PowerSchool frequently asked question document. You can go directly to that document. It's linked in PowerSchool community. But as we see information that pops up in there that we feel is beneficial to all of you, we'll obviously, again, we'll redistribute, recommunicate that to all of you the best we can. Watch for ongoing communication through PowerSchool. And I realize, we're trying to figure out kind of where we fit into this as Meta. We're trying to supplement one another. So PowerSchool obviously carries a big part of the responsibility in this, but our responsibility is back to you as the customer. We want to make sure that your guys' needs are being met. So if there's anything that you want, I'm not saying we're always going to be able to give you the answer that you're looking for, because again, some of this is we're waiting on PowerSchool. We're waiting for this information to be disseminated to us from PowerSchool, but we'll do the best we can. As Sarah and Sally are going to talk to you in a minute, you got to do something about these teachers and student social security numbers. If you have SSNs in there, you've got to get that stuff out of the PowerSchool SIS. You shouldn't be storing that in any SIS packages as far as I'm concerned.
But I have a question about that. Obviously, there was a field for it. Are there other programs that are tied and linked? I mean, PowerSchool is connected to everything. So this is like what was the purpose of SSN data to begin with? And if it was a listed field, are we going to end up jamming ourselves up in other places as well?
Okay, Nate, I don't know all of your guys' connections. It's, each of you have your own PowerSchool SIS platform and what gets connected to it and how it's using that data. But I can't imagine there's a vendor out there that is reliant on SSN in any way, shape, or form. Matter of fact, part of the conversation we had yesterday was very brief, but it'd be phenomenal if the Department of ODU would actually come out and go, they would make this a part of a larger process that districts would not adhere to collecting Social Security number. So I don't have a straightforward answer for you on that. It's going to really be dependent on your individual environments.
Can I hop in and just add a comment to that too? Social Security, PowerSchool's been around for a long time. And back in the day, it used to be that people collected Social Security numbers. So some of the Social Security numbers that you have in your system might be old data, might be from there. Some of your other third-party vendors, your registration system, whatever, might be collecting that. So you're going to need to check with them to make sure that they're not collecting those fields. Just because you can't see it on our side doesn't mean that they're not pushing it into a table somewhere. But as Eric said, I don't think anyone is relying on that as their link, their primary key, whatever, for their students. Some people have used that field for something else. If you are using that field for something else, there's no need to get rid of it, but you'd certainly want to check it. But I think that's where why does anybody have Social Security number? Because that's, everything used to be related to Social Security number. I did hear that EMIS said that ODE has not too long ago come out and said, don't be using Social Security numbers anymore. So I don't know that, obviously Andy doesn't answer all of your question, but maybe it gives you a little background.
Okay. Thank you for that, Sarah. This next bullet item, it certainly wouldn't have prevented, necessarily what happened with the data exfiltration, but I think it is a good point. I don't even have a count off the top of my head, but I would say we're at least hovering around 20 plus districts that are now using OIDC authentication. Whether that's with Google or Microsoft, most seem to be going in the direction of Google. I would highly encourage you to take a look at it, consider it. If I had my magic wand to wave over this, I'd say all districts should be getting off of PowerSchool's identity provider IDP method of authenticating and going to OIDC authentication. There's definitely some materials available to you. So if it's something you're interested in, I would reach out to us through the Salesforce ticket, send an email message to us. And maybe what we need to do in the not too distant future is set up another overview kind of training to help guide those of you who are interested in rolling out OIDC authentication. Okay.
Eric, we do have a question in the chat about do we know that Social Security numbers were compromised if they're in their SIS?
Yeah, absolutely. We know that without a doubt. Yeah. Both teachers and both the Social Security number field from the teacher's table and the Social Security number from the student's table was exfiltrated on those dates and times that I said earlier. This next bullet item, engage your customer success manager. PowerSchool has each one of you, whether you know it or not, you have a customer success manager. I'm not telling you that, we're taking a step back away from this and we're not going to, we want to be involved in this process, but there may be some times we're going to go, look, I don't have an answer for you on that. Or once this gets into more of the identity theft insurance that PowerSchool is saying they're going to step up to the table and provide, those are things that are going to have to be relayed between you and PowerSchool directly. There's no reason, or I can't think of any good reason for us as Meta to be in the middle of that. So if you don't know who your customer success manager is, I would initiate that process. I'll show you on the next slide. There is a form you can go out and fill out if you don't know who your CSM is. I would at least become aware of who that is. Whether or not you use that immediately, I don't know, but at least determine who that individual is so that you have that in your back pocket going forward. And as I said earlier, I'll repeat it again. This isn't a yearly, monthly, bi-monthly, biannual. This isn't a process we've been through before. So we're trying to stay maybe a quarter of a step ahead of you. I don't even know that we're doing that at the moment, but we are trying to stay ahead of you a little bit. So if there's things you need that you're not hearing us talk about, you just need to bring that to our attention. Okay. And be patient with us. We are, we're going to get inundated over that. I think the next week is going to be high volume for us. I'll put it that way. These are the helpful resources that I was referring to before. PowerSchool's frequently asked questions. You can, if you go to the slide deck, you can click on this. It is a hyperlink. It'll take you directly to PowerSchool community, which is where they're storing the frequently asked question. Also, if you don't know who your PowerSchool's customer success manager is, you can click here. That'll take you out to a hyperlink to a portal where you can fill it out, and they'll respond back to you with who that individual is. Okay. And then, of course, as always, if you have any other follow-up questions, things like that, I am going to ask you, please, please, please use the PowerSchool help at metasolutions.net. I know a lot of you are emailing me directly. I do need some of that to start going into the Salesforce system, just so it's trackable and we have it. Okay. Questions? I'm going to open it up. So I know there's been some really good questions. And again, we want to continue to encourage those as you guys step away from the meeting today and you think more about this. If there's things that come up, reach out to us through that PowerSchool help at metasolutions.net. But any other questions at the moment before I turn this over to Sarah and Sally to review the SSN?
Hi, this is Dawn. Can you put the links in the chat so that we'll have those links, please?
Yeah, if we can. Let's see if one of us can grab those.
They're in there. I think Sean posted them.
Okay.
Yeah, I see this.
Okay. All right. I am going to turn it over to Sally and Sarah. As we said earlier, they're going to review a little more of the detail and information with the Social Security number and kind of what we're proposing as next steps as far as the SSN cleanup.
So yeah, we've got a PowerPoint we're going to show you, but I think one of the important things to do is remember that you also need to check your third-party vendors.
Okay, so we're going to talk about proposed steps on how to clean up your Social Security number, the data in your PowerSchool environments. We have a PowerPoint here going over the steps on how to clean that up. An important thing to note is to remember to check your third-party vendors, such as enrollment or registration software that may be collecting and syncing data into that Social Security number field. You'll want to make sure you're looking to see if that is happening in any of your environments. So with the PowerSchool Social Security number, we know that the students and the teachers' tables, the information was compromised. So with the cleanup, what we are, again, proposing the steps now are to identify those records within the students and the teachers' tables. In the students' tables, you will perform a start page search for the Social Security number that's not blank. And then you will change student field value to clear those values out at the appropriate time. And with the teachers table, you are going to export the data via DDA to review, and again, at the appropriate time, then delete that information in your databases. Just as a reminder, there is a meta customization called Hide Student Social Security Number from the General Demographics page. Most of the districts will have this enabled. When you come to the catalog, you will see it enabled. You can search for SSN and it'll populate. You'll see it's enabled. you can click on that to disable it. It'll flag it as not enabled. Once you do that, you will then see the Social Security number field on the student demographics page. Again, this is if you want to see that field exposed as you are going through the cleanup steps. Again, most districts have this customization enabled, so you do not see the Social Security numbers currently on the demographics page. This is only if in the process you or anyone in your district wants to see that as you're going through certain steps. So again, with the students table, you're going to do a start page search. You're going to do a /SSN hashtag. So we want to include that / to get all of our active and inactive students. And we're looking for any students that have the field value, the SSN field value is not blank. What you're going to do at that point, you're going to quick export the data. You're going to review the data. This is why we're suggesting to export it. You can also use a custom student list if you would like, but the data should be reviewed to first see which students were compromised, data was compromised, and then what the next steps are from there. We've suggested fields here listed that you add to your quick export. You can certainly add additional fields as you and your district see fit as you're walking through these cleanup steps. Again, you're going to review the export that you have, and then at the appropriate time, you are going to use the group action, change student field value. You're going to select the SSN field, and you're going to check mark the cleared field value box to blank out that information in that field. Once you do that, you clear it from your PowerSchool environment. You'll then want to delete your quick export that you have. Again, this would have the information on that export, so you wouldn't want that on any of your servers. You want to make sure you delete that once you're done with this cleanup, again, at the appropriate time as you work within your districts in this cleanup process. So what that looks like from your start page, again, you're using that /SSN hashtag. You're going to search that and it'll pull up the students with values in that Social Security number field. You're going to use the quick student export group action. Again, we have the suggested fields here that you use when you export, but you can add as many additional fields that you need within your export. You'll click submit. You will review your data that you have exported. We're in a training database. This is not personal identifiable information, so this is all scrambled fake data. Once you review the data with your district, you are then going to want to clear that information out from the student SSN field. So again, using your /SSN hashtag to select your students, you're now going to use change student field values. You're going to click on the blue fields hyperlink. You're going to type in SSN and select the Social Security number field. And then you're going to check mark this box to clear the field value. Once you check mark this box, you'll see the new field value text box populates cleared field value. That is the command to take the data in that field and clear it out, blank it out. You'll then click submit, which will give you a list of all of the students that have old SSN values. It will list those values, and then it will list the new SSN values, which is blank. We're clearing it out, so it'll be blank. You're going to scroll to the bottom of the list and click submit to clear those values. For the teachers tables, you're going to perform a DDA search, again, from the teachers table. You're looking for SSN is not null, and you're going to want to search all records. So you're going to be in the district, at the district level when you perform this search, making sure that you're searching through all of your records. Again, like the students' information, you're going to export your data for review. We have suggested fields listed here that we would recommend you use on your export. Again, add as many additional fields that you see fit that you need within your district. You're going to review your export file. Another step here, while you're reviewing your export file, you want to verify if your district uses the SSN field for Ohio State reporting. And you can verify that via the district management, district setup, district info page. Please reach out to EMIS with questions if you are reporting that Social Security number for Ohio State reporting. And once you review your exported file, again, when appropriate within your district, you're going to modify the records via DDA. And when you're modifying the records, again, we're clearing those values out. Once those values are cleared out, you'll then, again, you'll want to delete your DDA export that you had to review your file. Again, before you modify your records, very carefully, you'll want to review if the Social Security number is used for Ohio State reporting. Please reach out to us with questions you have on that before you modify any records. So again, what that would look like for the teachers table, again, navigating to DDA, you're searching the teachers table. You're going to search for SSN is not null. And again, we're at the district level. We want to search all records. Once it identifies our records, we are then going to export the records. We have the suggested fields that you use for your export. Again, you can add additional fields, or there's a hyperlink here where you can use all fields. If you want all of the information, simply click on Use All Fields, and it will populate all of those fields for you. Once you have your fields, click Submit. Again, review your data. Review if your district is using Social Security number for Ohio State reporting on your district management, district setup, district info page. And then you're going to modify your records. You're going to select the Social Security number equals, and then leave that blank. Again, we're clearing it out, so you're going to leave it blank to clear out the value, and click Modify Selected Records. If you have questions or you need assistance with the Social Security number cleanup, please email us at ps.support@metasolutions.net. We'll be happy to assist. So again, any questions or you need assistance with DDA, please reach out to us via Salesforce ticket, and we'll be happy to assist however we can.
So Sally, one of the questions we got was when I go to the search and do the /SSN hashtag, I get a message saying your roles don't allow you to do this. And the answer to that is there's probably some kind of field level security on that search. So you either need to update the security or try to do that in DDA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree. There's a field level security, no access probably to that field. You can submit that and we can help take a look at that. But yes.
Hey, Eric, it's Sean from Vermilion again, trying to follow up with what Glenn, I believe, requested about web access for Guardians. That is not, I pulled from our audit logs, I pulled what fields they got. That's not in the list of fields that were exported from our instance. Can we confirm it was accessed or not? I'm showing them as Guardian Web Password and Guardian Web ID. Is that the correct export for those fields?
Eric, I think you're mute.
Yeah, on our system, it is simply student_web password for the students, which is encrypted. And then on the other side, it's just web_password. But those are the access codes for parents. So we're concerned that even though we've locked everything down, theoretically, they have that information. They could just set up another parent account and access the student data.
This is Chris Dyson, Grandview. I'm seeing the same thing in my, when I go to the mass data export log from December 22nd, and I look, it tells me our total number of records and tells me all the fields from the student table, all the fields from the teachers table. And I see student.web_ID and also then, you know, the password field. I guess if they, and then when I recreate that with all of those fields, and I put it in a spreadsheet, CSV file, I see them in plain text. Now, I don't know if that's, if when they did it via the API, they don't come over in plain text and they get encrypted or what. But when I recreate what they did with my permissions, which I'm going to assume the worst, that 200A0 account had the same permissions, I get the web ID and web password, which is what we give parents for them to generate a student account or a parent account attached to a student. So I guess the easy thing for me is if there's just a way to select all students and regenerate all of those web IDs and web passwords for every single student. So we inactivate the old ones, we have a new set, and then I can just reproduce letters for new parents that come in or parents that need to sign up.
Yeah, I'll have to default to somebody else on the team to speak to. I mean, there is a routine out there you can run to regenerate those IDs.
Correct.
I think I had shared that with you yesterday, Chris. But that might be something that we want to communicate out to everybody.
Chris, I'm showing two different fields. I see the Guardian, I'm sorry, I'm seeing the student access account, which is field student web ID and student web password. And then I see the access keys are Guardian web ID and Guardian web password.
I can just tell you that when I take these fields and I run them into a CSV file, and then I looked at the CSV, and then I went to a specific student and I compared what value was on the CSV file in what field to what shows up on that access page for students that you hand out those codes, and it was identical. And those were, and we use five alphanumeric characters, and those were, duplicated when I looked in the CSV for that student versus what is on PowerSchool for that student. And it's web_ID and web_password are those fields.
That also jibes with what I'm seeing from an export compared to PowerSchool.
Eric, I need to talk to a little bit about what Sally and Sarah just presented as far as the teachers in the SSN field. Over 10 years ago, EMIS, stopped collecting the Social Security number, but several of the PowerSchool environments were set up to pull that field. So what a lot of the districts have done is just copied the credential ID into that field. So you will want to review, the values in those fields. If they are 2 alpha and 7 numeric, they could be credential IDs. And if you remove them, you're going to mess up all staff and course reporting. So you can check under district info as to what field you're pulling for teachers. If they've left it SSN, but they've just copied the teacher credential ID into that field, you don't need to remove the values. Does that make sense?
Or you still need to review it because maybe you've got
Absolutely.
some really old records that could be social security numbers, and then newer ones,
Absolutely.
as Susan said, 10 years ago that changed. So now you've got a combination of credential numbers. So you're right. That's one of the points we wanted to make, is you're not just going to blanket go in there and just get rid of everything. You have to review it.
Correct. And the credential is always 2 alpha, 7 numeric. You know, your social security numbers are obviously 9 numeric. So, you know, they are different formats.
And then to answer a previous question too, there is an assign IDs and password screen that you can use to regenerate those access IDs and passwords.
Hey, Susan, this is Vern. Do we know what implications there may or may not be on that data getting out? Because that was a question I have, because we do have that credential information in the Social Security field for staff. Our student ones, to the best of my knowledge, and I'll review, but to the best of my knowledge, is already blank.
Vern, I think that is their teacher license number. I think, and that's searchable via
credential. That's
site.
just what I was going to say. Credential IDs are public info.
Okay, thank you. That was my
No
question.
problem. Yep.
Susan, this is Denise from Kettering. I thought that teacher credential ID field in PowerSchool below the blue line was what EMIS used for reporting, because we often don't so we have some SSN populated, but not any of our new staff.
So that's, your district then is obviously not set up to pull by SSN. It's just mainly a lot of the original PowerSchool districts.
Okay.
Way back when they were set up that way, and they decided versus changing that, they would just copy the credential into that field. So correct, Denise, if you don't populate that with the credential ID, then that would not be the case for your district. Good point.
Thank you. And I know now the toggle between using those two. I remember seeing that. So thank you for that clarification.
No problem.
Okay, so it sounds like part of what I'm hearing is we owe you guys an explanation as to how you go in and modify the access ID information. And there's a form out there you can go out, you can regenerate any of these passwords or IDs at the student level. It's an easy enough process. I'm not quite familiar enough with it. I want to talk with the team internal to fully understand the downward impact of that for you guys, so that we can better guide you on that. So it sounds like we probably need to put together like a step sheet or a quick guide to help you through that. Okay. Any other questions?
We did have one other one, Eric, where if they turn off that customization and you're still not seeing the field on your demographic screen, make sure you've checked that little show all checkbox, so that field would show up for you. And then when you're all done with this process, obviously you want to turn that off unless you're using that field for something else.
Glenn, I think your point, and I made a note of this, one of the things that we need to look at is grabbing this data via the API. Again, I'm making the assumption, but I don't want to make the assumption that it will look the same as if you were exporting the data. But we need to clarify that on our end too, to verify that these elements, these data fields for both the student and the teacher side, they're matching up with what steps we give you for validating that information, that they do in fact match up and look the same as if we were to pull that data to the API. And Marnie, and it looks like you've got a question about the OIDC authentication. If you want to take yourself off mute, and I'm not sure I understand.
Go ahead.
Yeah, actually, it's me. Sorry, Pat Coleman. So yeah, we use OIDC auth via Google, and I guess I was having a hard time following the piece with respect to whether we would need to reset all of our student and all of our staff members' passwords via that auth pathway.
I mean, I guess it's always a good rule of thumb, following a security breach like this, certainly you could, but that would be something you would have to instigate from your Google side.
No, understood. The question is more specific to, is there a need there? I get the best practice piece for sure.
Yeah, and that's what I'm going to stick with. That's my answer. Is it's best practice, so it can't hurt. And that might be something that we need to, again, as we put more communication together here, that might be something we need to expand on.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. I think we have everything. Holy cow. So yeah, I ran way over. I do apologize. I expected this. So Christine, I'm going to turn it over to you or Sarah. I'm not sure who, but we're going to quickly review, I think, what's new in the 24.12 release. And
Yeah, I can do that.
all right.
Let me know if you see my screen okay, please.
We do.
Okay, great. Well, this is a tough act to follow because that was very, a lot of details, a lot of somber information, but good information. What I am here to do today is to talk about what's new in 24.12. 24.12 is the only release since we last met, so there's not a lot to cover today. Remember, this PowerPoint is available on our meta documentation. I did double check that it is already in there, so you have access to it now. And you can access that through your PowerSchool SIS. Again, there's several links that are going to be attached to this slideshow. So you might want to, download the slideshow for easier access to those links. Come on. There we go. 24.12 features and enhancements. This is a minor feature maintenance release. Okay, so there was only really one new feature in 24.12, and that involved object reports. There was many resolved issues and some minor enhancements and improvements, but the one issue or the one new feature, you can navigate to object reports by going to System Management, Reports, and Object Reports. And the new feature is that the export and import report template functionality now supports UTF-8 as a character set. Overall, this update enhances the flexibility and compatibility of report templates, making it easier to share and use templates across different systems and languages. So that was really the only new feature in 24.12. We'll move on to conflicts, bug fixes, and so forth. 24.12 offered over 30 resolved issues. I'll mention and highlight a few along with some additional information, but as always, if you have a specific release note topic that you don't understand, please put in a ticket and Meta is happy to help kind of investigate that with you. One area that received a few improvements was with DDE and DDA. So I'm going to break this out into the next few slides and go into some detail. Okay, so the number of field searches has increased from 4 to 6. Something important to note here, if you have currently used the Meta DDA customization, you already have 10 fields. Most of our districts do have that turned on. So with that customization, you already see 10 fields. If you don't want the extra 4 fields that PowerSchool is offering up to 6 fields, we have 10. If you don't want the extra 4, you can go into your customization catalog and go ahead and disable that. But we've already given you those extra fields if you have that customization turned on. The match selection table list will only allow the selection of tables that already have a selection set. Tables that do not have a selection set will show in a non-selectable state. So what that means in this example, the CC table match selection only allows for the matching tables to be chosen, and those are in bold. So the student table is in bold. That is the only one that you can choose here. The other ones you'll see are grayed out. This will save users times by not looking for data in tables where there isn't any matching. When conducting a field search and pressing enter, the search will be executed on the current selection of records. If no selection exists, the search will be performed on all records. So basically, this is saying that when you have your information in here, you just hit enter and it's going to go ahead and do search from within records. So again, very minor improvement, just more for convenience. Okay, under security, the log entry dropdown now shows the expected log types when a user has multiple user access roles that also have security groups for a school. So log entry problems was a widely reported issue in the last month where certain users, including teachers, were not able to access or create log entries. This was a PowerSchool issue, and PowerSchool has indicated this issue was fixed with the 24/12 release. So please test the log entry dropdown issue with your users. And then if you find it's not working as expected, please go ahead and put in a ticket. But we have checked with a couple districts that had tickets in. It does look like this has been resolved, but please let us know. In 24/12, the user experience had some minor fixes. You may remember in early November, Chrome had an update that broke some of the navigation menu displays. PowerSchool was able to add some code to correct those issues so that your menus show as expected. In addition, when navigating to the start page, the search box is automatically focused, whereas in the past, your cursor was in a deselected state, causing you an extra click to decide where you need it to be. Again, a very minor improvement, but just saves you a little bit of time. Another minor improvement is with health. The daily health to-do list now currently displays the status when more than one visit outcome or action is attached to a student. So for about a year now, we've had the ability to record multiple outcomes and actions, but now you will also be able to see them displayed. Okay. And as always, it's important to remember that not everyone experiences these issues, so you may not have even been aware of some of the ones that we mentioned today. I've listed a few more here. But as always, additional resolved issues can be found in the latest 24/12 release notes. And again, this whole presentation will be in our meta documentation. So I started doing this last time, some additional resources. These are links for you. This is the what's new. It'll take you right to all the 24.4 releases, our meta documentation when you're logged into PowerSchool. All our documentation is in there. And then this is a nice one too, hot topics PowerSchool puts out. Some of the topics I listed here, but just know that all of this information is linkable to this PowerPoint. That is all I have today. Happy New Year. It's actually not all I have today because I do have something else to go over, which is actually good news. But happy winter, stay warm. Let me switch my screen here and we are going to show you something good. Sorry, stop sharing. Let me find my screen and then I will share again. Got logged out. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay, so I'm logged into one of our trained databases. And this is something that districts have been asking for. So we have finally, our team has come up with a document that you can find by navigating to our meta documentation and searching meta monthly reminders, tasks and to-dos. Okay, and this will download. So I'll open this up for you. Let me know if you can see this okay. Does the document open up on the screen okay, Eric?
Yep.
Okay, good. Okay, so, districts have been asking for a monthly checklist, monthly reminder. So our team has worked hard on putting together this monthly reminder student information system document. Couple things to note, this is a live document, so it is going to be an ever-changing document as we, put new things on there, update with ideas that districts have given us. But I just wanted to give you an overview. So the purpose of this document, the Meta PowerSchool team is committed to empowering our district leaders and other district personnel by providing a comprehensive monthly step sheet. This resource is designed to streamline and simplify the management of typical monthly tasks within PowerSchool, ensuring efficiency, accuracy, and consistency across all districts. By offering clear, step-by-step guidance, we aim to support our leaders in maintaining optimal performance and achieving their educational goals. So that is our purpose for this document. I'm going to highlight a few things on here. So we're going to start out on the first page. We have a lot of things linked to this document. We have our district leader quick links, our resource and professional learning. You can get to your meta documentation, meta training information, PowerSchool community, and PowerSchool's customer education. And then it dips into our monthly checklist and to-dos. And why is that blank? It skipped a page. So it goes month by month. I'm going to go down a little bit here. And we're basically giving you meta PowerSchool review and identify checklist items. So those are things that, we recommend in your PowerSchool SIS. We are giving you guidance on things you need to do on a particular month. The next column is end of term. So this is mostly has to do with storing grades and running all the reports involved with grades. And so we've tried to give you the paths wherever possible. PowerScheduler team, they've put some reminders on there. We know that this is not typically something that the district leaders do, but the scheduling team does. But again, we want to give you that information so you know kind of what should be happening at this time of year. This right here, the additional planning and development items, these are, this is more information that Meta is providing for your reference. You really want to check with your administrators to determine if these items are relevant to your building or district. So these are not so much things that Meta says you need to go into your SIS and this is how you do this, but this is, that like, for example, third-party vendor management. We have a link to our vendor form. And then just the hot topics is linked here. So we really tried to put as much information as possible on here. And then recurring reminders. These are just things you can look at monthly as needed, but they can be done at any time, or they can be done anytime during the year and numerous times, you know, general cleanup and verifications and so forth. And we've given you the paths to do that. Again, this is a live document. So if you do decide to go ahead and print the document, you know, just keep in mind that if changes are made, you know, you could potentially miss some of those changes. So just frequently come back to this. And then the last section is professional learning opportunities. So month by month, we tried to go ahead and link the different trainings that we've recorded, or PowerSchool's training information for different things, so that you can go in and sign up for those or watch pre-recorded trainings. And then it just goes into February and it goes over the same process again. We do have this built out to December. So we have the whole year on here. So for your reference. But again, it's hard to remember month by month what districts specifically should be doing possibly in June, you know, when it's January. So we are welcome. We want to welcome your feedback. If there's anything we missed, if you see something that you think should be included on the document, or any ideas for additional tasks, please, 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 you know, go ahead and put in a ticket, and we'll certainly take a look at that and see if we can enhance this document. If you see something also, there's a lot of links on here. So maintaining this document, you know, it's a very manual process. If you do see something that, oh, hey, that link is outdated, please let us know. You know, we'll stay on top of this as much as possible. It's a big team effort, but yeah, so that's all I have. Welcome your feedback.
I just want to jump in and say it's a huge thank you to Christine and the rest of the team for working on this. I mean, we had a period in time in the past when we had these monthly checklists that we produced and provided to all of you. It was one of those things that just over a period of time, we stopped maintaining it. So we felt like it was a good opportunity to get back to that. You're going to start to see too, one of the things that will kind of coincide with these monthly checklists will be what we're going to term Power Hour training sessions. So these will literally be, you know, training opportunities for us to touch base with you in a quick 35, 45 minute type format, leave a little bit of time for question and answers. So that instead of presenting large topics to you or large bits of information, we'll be able to break those up a little bit more and make those more digestible. I just think where things are headed, I think it's more important. So we're trying to constantly get better, change how we're doing things. So certainly as you start utilizing that checklist, if you have feedback, as Chris said, please provide us that feedback, send it to us in a case, and we'll be happy to look at it. And, you know, we're trying to find a balance between what's too much information and what's not enough, and, you know, trying to keep that balance with those checklists. So I hope that helps, and we'll appreciate your guys' feedback going forward.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
All right, Christine, excellent. Thank you. There's Sally.
All right, we're first going to talk about, before customizations, we wanted to go over Calamity days. Coming back from the winter break, there are a few districts that have had some snow days. And so we've been answering some questions and thought it might be helpful just to go over the Calamity Day procedure. So when you have a Calamity Day that falls within a term, the procedure is going to be the same as you have always done in the past. That's nothing has changed. You're going to update any attendance records, so you can find any attendance records that are associated with the Calamity Day. Those need to be removed. Obviously, that day is not in session, so you want to remove that attendance. You can search for those records in DDA, and the search you're going to perform ATT_date equals, and then you'll put in the date of the calamity day. This needs to be done first. You want to look for these attendance records first and remove them before you go to the next step, which is updating your calendar. You want to go to your configure calendar and you want to uncheck the in session box for the calamity day and save that change accordingly. So that again is a calamity day within a term. It just so happened this year we had a couple of districts that had a calamity day returning back from the break that was also the start day of their next term. So there are just a couple of additional steps that do need to be taken when that happens. So again, looking at this, this is when the calamity day falls on a term start date. Years and terms and final grade setups, they do not need to be modified. The only time you're going to be modifying those years and terms and final grade setups, that is if and when a term is extended. So for example, if you are adding days to the end of the school year, that is when you would modify years and terms and final grade setup. We do have a documentation on that scenario step-by-step guide. If you have to extend your school year or extend a term, there is a document in our meta documentation folder. It's called Adjust Term Dates After Rollover. It's called After Rollover, but it would apply to extending the dates after a term. So again, in this scenario where we have the calamity day on the first day, the start date of a new term, again, you're going to start with clearing out the attendance records that have been entered for that date. So you'll perform the same search in DDA to clear out those attendance records. You're going to also update your calendar just as you did previously, unchecking that box, marking it's no longer an in-session day. What you'll want to do is look for, now you're going to look for school enrollments, any student that has an entry date equal to that term or that calamity day. You're going to look for that. You can find that on your start page, entry date equals, and then put in your calamity day. That's going to show you any students who were enrolled to start that day, and you would want to update their enrollment records accordingly to the date that school does go back in session. So not the calamity day, but the day that you do return. Again, we had a district that had a couple of calamity days, 2 in a row. So the in-session day then became that third day. The first 2 were the calamity days. And finally, you want to update the course enrollments, those CC records for the affected term. Those also need to be updated, and that can be done in DDA. Any students that you enroll in a course after you've updated your calendar, it will automatically update those students to the correct in-session start date. But all of your existing students would still have on their CC records, they would have that calamity date as the term start date. So you want to update those records. So for consistency, all of your students show the date, the first in-session date. Any questions on calamity day? All right. Eric, I think. Okay, we're going to talk next about what is new in the Meta Customizations catalog for January 2025. I'm sharing some good information with you here now. First, we want to talk about PowerSearch. PowerSearch is not new, but it has been newly enhanced within our last few version updates that we've been talking about it. Prior to today, so as of yesterday, users were seeing a power search on the right-hand side. This is if you had the customization enabled, you would see it on the right-hand side, and you would click on it to add a field button. Again, Power Search is a way to favorite those fields that you use most often when you are searching, performing different searches within PowerSchool. And Power Search allows you to add those fields. But again, prior to today, it was seen on the right-hand side. With today's update, it has been moved over here to the left-hand side. So right underneath all your other selection options, you'll see Power Search. If it's enabled and you do not have any fields favorited yet, you will see it in a collapsed mode here. Once you click on that drop-down arrow, it will expand. This is where, again, you can click to add those fields that you search most often. You can favorite them. You can add different tabs as well. You can reference one of our previous district leader meetings that talks about Power Search. But for this update, again, there's the expand and collapse option now available. So if you do use Power Search, but you don't want to see it open all the time, you have the option now to collapse it and then expand it when you want to use it. Likewise, each user now has the ability to disable Power Search if they do not want to use that. Again, if your district was using it and it was enabled, it will be enabled by default for your users. But now again, each user within their managed profile, they can scroll to the bottom and see the Meta catalog profile settings where they can select disabled if they do not want to use Power Search or see that on their start page. Meta report card. We have added report card settings based off of some requests from some districts that we've taken those from. The first is school address. There is now a setting where you can select to show or do not display the school address. There has also been added a school phone label. So if you want to change it, if you want to have the hashtag instead of phone, you could type that in there. With these labels, you will see grayed out what the default option is. So it says phone, colon. This again is where you can type in a different label if you would like to. Likewise, principal and superintendent, we've added those labels so you can change those as needed. And in the student info container, you'll see the GPA settings also has a new label for grade point average. Maybe you want it to say GPA instead. You can update your label there accordingly. Also on the report cards, we found a bug that was hiding grade scales previously. So as of today, with this update, you may notice additional grade scales displaying on your student report cards that weren't there previously. These are for course grades, grade scales that are associated to standards. So again, previously, the bug, it was not including the first and last course on a standard, which was causing that grade scale to incorrectly be hidden. So you may have wanted it to be hidden and it was doing so, but incorrectly. So now that we have corrected that bug, again, you may see some additional grade scales on your report cards. The correct way to hide grade scales from a report card is to go to the academic grade scales, and this is a district level setting. So you want to be at the district, go to academic grade scales. You're going to select the grade scale that you want to be excluded from the report card and check mark the box in the meta report card section to exclude from the report card. Please note, again, this is a district level setting. So if you exclude a grade scale that is being used at multiple buildings, middle school and your elementary buildings, it will be excluded for all of those buildings. Once you check mark the box to exclude, you click save, it will then correctly exclude the grade scale from the report card. The Enhanced System Log Viewer, this is for our tech people within our districts. If you look at your log files, this is going to be helpful for you. When you go to the Enhanced System Log Viewer, your System Management Server Enhanced System Log Viewer, when you navigate to this page, you will see the process logs. And when you navigate to this page, they will automatically be collapsed. In our screenshot here, we have the process logs opened for view. You'll notice we have over 76,000 lines in this log file. What is happening here in the process logs, it is grouping similar lines together. And this is where you can review some common warnings, error message, things that are listed here. What we have added, we have a new details column on the far right-hand side. When you click on the details, you will see a pop-up appear with additional log detail information. What's also on this pop-up is resolution suggestions for certain errors. Some resolution suggestions, they'll include provided links for cleanup. For example, if there's duplicate preferences, there will be a link that will take the user to DDA where you can clean that information up. As we continue to work on this, as we continue to identify some of these common errors, we will be updating that within the Enhanced System Log Viewer. Again, we would like to have these details provide information on how you can resolve those messages, make your system run more efficiently, and clean up your information. Calendar enhancements. We have added an alert banner to the Configure Calendar page. So when you're on Configure Calendar and you need to make an update, like you need to uncheck a box that's not in session anymore, kind of like the Calamity days we talked about, you will now see a yellow alert banner run across the top, letting you know that you've made a change and have not saved it yet. This is a good reminder. The submit button on the Configure Calendar page, you most often have to scroll down to submit your changes. And so sometimes that can be an overlooked piece. And as you navigate to the different months, you forget to make changes. So this will give you an alert letting you know to save your changes before you navigate away. If you do try to navigate away from this page, a pop-up additionally will appear. So another way to notify the users that you have changes that have not been saved. We have added a 100 Days Smarter customization. This customization on your Configure Calendar adds an icon and a little text note letting you know this day in our screenshot, Tuesday, January 28th, is the 100th day of school, and the students are 100 days smarter. This is a way, again, just for you to see quickly which day is the 100th day of school. We know a lot of our elementary days sometimes have parties and things to commemorate the day. So again, a quick view to see that. Once you go to the catalog and you enable the customization, you will see there is a preferences page. If you go to the 100 Days Smarter preference page, you will see this is where you can customize and edit that icon and message if you would like to. Again, we have it 100 Days Smarter, but you could put 100 days and wiser. You could type in wiser. Additionally, if for some reason you celebrate the 101st day of school, you could type in 101 and then update your text 101 days smarter. Again, allowing you some flexibility to edit that as needed. Honor roll delete. So with honor roll, previously, if a user calculated their honor roll and they now need to recalculate for that same period, they would have had to navigate to DDA to delete the previous records, then navigate back to calculate honor roll to rerun it. This customization, called Honor Roll Delete, it eliminates the need to manually go to DDA and delete those records. What it does is when you navigate to Honor Roll, calculate Honor Roll, it automatically identifies records for the selected students and terms based on the store code. In our screenshot here, we can see I am calculating Honor Roll for all 1,087 currently enrolled students, and it found 451 existing records. If I had selected here on my radio button the 256 students that I have selected on my start page, this number would be less, dependent on how many records they found within the 256. So again, it is looking through the records of the students that you have selected, and it's identifying if there are existing records. If there are existing records and you want to delete those and rerun it, you will now see the button says delete and submit. Once you click delete and submit, you'll see a pop-up appear letting you know it is deleting those records. Additionally, you'll see the numbers increment as it is going through and deleting those records. A note here that it is looking at all honor roll methods for a student selection. So if there is a situation where a student has maybe an honor roll and a merit honor roll, both those records would be identified and both would be then deleted. Running honor roll, delete, and submit, it does run about 10 to 15 students a second. So the more students you have, the more runtime it will take, but it is still very quick. It is, again, a way for you to do all of that here on one page rather than going to DDA, deleting the records, and coming back. If you go to calculate honor roll and there are no records identified, it will show you there are no previous records found for the students you're running honor roll for quarter one. It didn't detect any records. So now we see that it is just a submit button. It's not delete and submit. State assessments. So state assessments in the public and teacher portals, they have been updated. We reversed the labels on the legend. So now reading left to right starts with limited, basic, so on and so forth. You will also note that the color styling has been updated to align with the ODE pages. Additionally, with state assessments, we have added the link to the admin EUI. So on a student page in the academic records section, you will now see an option to view state assessments. This state assessments view, it's a read-only view. And what you are viewing is what has been set up on the state assessments setup page. We do have documentation in our meta documentation file, how you can select tests to display on the state assessments page. So again, the FA page, the state FA page will display all of a student's test records, but the state assessments page is only going to display the test data that has been selected by the district to be displayed. So some districts, they want users to be able to view test information, but not have access to the FA page. So this is absolutely a way to lock down your FA page and still allow users in the admin portal to view certain test information, maybe not all test information, but whatever tests you do want them to have access to. District logo. We have added a new logo URL option. There is a default placeholder here to support for manual logo selection. Just a note, you can upload to any file structure. It doesn't have to be the district logo file as in our screenshot, but you can upload to any file structure. Just a note, logos should not be overly large. We recommend using PowerSchool's suggestion of 100 by 400 or PowerSchool's enhanced 200 by 800. With the logos, after you load your logo, sometimes it can take a few hours up to a couple days for the logo to appear. You can toggle your customizations on and off. That will sometimes cause the logo to appear quicker. There's a link to the Enable Customization page. When you click on it, it takes you to Enable Customizations where you can toggle this off and then back on to again help your logo appear more quickly. And this would be for all district branding logos. If you're referencing a logo from an external source, you'll want to reference the PowerSchool Community Knowledge Base article on content security policy. There is a link added. Additionally, there's a link to the PowerSchool developer site with more information on how to reference a logo from an external source. Our recommendation with logos would be submit a ticket to us here at Meta and we can assist with your logo upload. You can certainly do so here, but we are happy to assist with that. So just submit a ticket to us. Alert Builder. We have a couple of bug fixes with the Alert Builder. Previously, Alert Builder allowed users without system log download access to submit alert changes. Now you will see a red warning message. Users who do not have system log download access will see this red warning message at the bottom here, letting them know that they do not have access to change or edit any alerts within the Alert Builder. Not only do they see the message, but the validate and submit option, they do not have access to that validate and submit. So if you have a user that does not have access to system log download, they don't have access to Alert Builder. If they need that, your district leaders will be able to grant them that access accordingly so that they can edit alerts. Speaking of alerts, we have some legacy alerts that we have mentioned previously that will be removed from the catalog this summer, 2025. If you navigate to the catalog, the Meta Customizations catalog, and you look in the alerts category, you'll see we have updated the legacy alerts with the we've appended legacy alert on the end of those alerts that are going to be removed. What we want our users to do is to use the Alert Builder to download these alerts. Again, they will be removed from the catalog, but they are still available in the Alert Builder. So we were trying to give you enough time to make this change. Again, identify those legacy alerts, navigate to the Alert Builder. You'll go to the Community tab where you'll find those alerts, and you can click on Download to download the alert to your Alerts tab. Once you download the alert, you will open up that alert, select the portals you want it to be pushed out to. So once you download, you select the portals you want it to be pushed out to in the Alert Builder. You will then navigate back to the catalog and disable these legacy alerts. If you leave these alerts enabled and the Alert Builder alerts enabled, your student line will display duplicate icons. So once you download them in the Alert Builder, make sure you come back to the catalog to disable them. We do have a couple of reminders. Community plugins. This is a reminder, how often you go out here, maybe once a month, to look for any potential updates from those external plugins, seeing if they have updated versions available. We also want to remind you to navigate to the customizations catalog, the latest tab. On the latest tab, you can see any customizations here listed as a future release. That's letting you know things that we are working on that are going to be coming up in the future. You can get a sneak peek at those. Additionally, the new items we talked about today, the updates and the new customizations, you will see those in the catalog. If you see that the new updated updated customization or is listed as not enabled, when you come to the catalog, you simply just need to click on not enabled, and that will enable it, turning it green, and it's turned on and ready for you to use. When you come to the catalog and you see not installed, you will click on not installed, which will take you to the Meta installer page. It will select the Meta plugin associated that customization is associated with. It will automatically select it. All you need to do is click install one plugin. You click install one plugin. The installer runs through all of its steps, and then it'll tell you it has been installed. Once it has been installed, you will navigate back to the customizations catalog. You will now see that customization displayed as not enabled because you just installed it. Now you need to enable it. So it is a two-step process. And now when you click on the not enabled, that is turning it on and enabling it. Again, there is documentation in our Meta documentation file folder about the customization catalog, the Meta installer. Additionally, there's community plugins we just talked about. There's documentation on that as well. But again, with these new customizations, two-step process, when you go to the catalog, it'll direct you to the installer to install. You come back to the catalog to enable. You can go directly to the installer if you want and look on the right-hand side and select those new plugins that will move them to the left-hand side, the active plugins, and then click install. Either way would work. All right. Any questions, comments, suggestions? You can email us at ps.customizations@metasolutions.net. And as always, a copy of this presentation will be it's already in our documentation file. And the recording of today's meeting will be on our Meta PowerSchool YouTube channel as soon as possible.
Encourage you to check that occasionally and see if there's not something that you might like.
Fantastic. Thank you both. Anything else on the catalog or the Calamity today? Any questions? All right, if not, we're going to keep on trucking. Sally, Stephen, you guys are up on the testing conversion update?
Yep, just a quick question in the chat to address. Yes, this presentation that Sally just had will be added to the documentation. Is that correct, Sally? They go out to our documentation, they'll find that.
Yep, it is already in there. You should be able to see it now. It was added, so yep, it'll be in there.
Cool, thanks.
Just a quick reminder, when you go out to, you log into PowerSchool, go to the help menu, go into meta documentation. When you do a search for JAN space 2025, and that should pull up all the documents that we're reviewing today. Okay.
Right.
All right.
Now, Eric, I am sharing my screen. Can you see the PowerSchool browser, PowerSchool in a browser?
Can, yep.
Great, thanks. All right, so I am talking to you this morning about what we're calling the testing conversion program, but what you might more commonly refer to it as how do I import my test results into PowerSchool core test results. So again, we have a slightly different name just based upon what we're doing behind the scenes, what we're working on. And some of you have been asking about this project for a little bit, and some of you have been wondering what the status is. So we really want to give you a status update. I know we gave you a brief status update back in November, and I am here today to give you another brief status update on where we're at and kind of what we're looking for from here. So notice that I am in our train environment. So I've got some scrambled student data to illustrate my examples here. But first off, I want to kind of define what we're doing here. So what is the problem that we're looking to solve? In the past, we had a tool to help you take those state test result files, such as from your OCBA or OSTs, as they're more commonly called now, SAT scores, ACT scores very commonly, convert the file from the company or the state for quick import into PowerSchool. And because those file formats have changed, we have decided to revamp our entire way of getting those files, getting that data on those files for you into PowerSchool. And so what I'm talking about this morning has nothing to do with your state screens. It has nothing to do with the data, the test data that is sitting on your test screens for your students. I am simply talking about core test results. So I'll show you which screen I'm referring to here. Some of you are not using the data this way. You're not importing your test results into the core test side, and that's okay. It's not required. You know that it is required for the state test side. And since we started this project, as an aside, something Sally mentioned in her presentation is we do have a way to display student test scores in the public portal from the state test scores now. But again, I'm talking about core test results, and there are a couple of reasons that you may still want to import here, and that's what we're currently working on. The most common request we've had is so that your schools can display these scores, the test scores per student, in the PowerTeacher Pro portal so they can see them. That is one. That is probably the biggest reason left why you'd want to import your test scores here. And the other reason is for high school specifically, if you're using the PowerSchool graduation planner, you can use the OCBA/OST scores in the grad planner for students to see whether they've met the requirements, students and parents, see whether they've met the state testing requirements. So we're ready to debut our test builder and import tool though today for ACT and SAT specifically. And our next ask of you is going to be a controlled availability group. So what does that mean for you? Controlled availability is our way of saying we need a couple of test subjects or guinea pigs out there to test the functionality of the ACT and SAT test import tool. I am going to show you how that works this morning briefly, but by the end of the presentation, I will ask that if you're interested in joining that controlled availability group, which will take place in the coming months, we're looking at a potential bi-weekly schedule. We meet every other week, have you try out importing test results using the new test import tool, and give us some feedback on how it's working. We know it does work, but we need to know how it's working from your end, usability-wise, from your perspective. Is it, how does that look from your end, basically? We've been in it for a little while now, so sometimes it's hard to see from the district perspective once we spend some time on our end kind of tweaking things. So we would really appreciate your feedback. What that'll require is for you to have some ACT and or SAT results to import that have not yet been imported on the core test results side. So that's really what we're looking for currently. But eventually, this controlled availability group will also be introduced to the opportunity to import your Ohio State tests, or more commonly called OSTs. Okay, and we'll get to that in a moment too. So I do want to show you a few things here. Again, I'm currently in our train environment, and first off, something you need to know, and I know most of you do, but this is kind of review for all of you, is when you're thinking about which tests, standardized tests reside in your system, I think it's just an important reminder to know. If you go to district management and then academics and click on standardized tests, you will see all of the tests that have been built in your system or imported into your system. And we used to use this format of ACT 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the old object report transcripts. And once those went away for our Meta Solutions customers, and our team created a customized Meta transcript, we went to the format of simply having an ACT test to import your ACT test results into. I could say the same for SAT. We have that example down here. And I do want to click into the subtests for each of these and just kind of show you some examples. So when I go to edit scores over to the right, what it's talking about from this screen is editing the subtest names here. That's all you're doing from this screen. Again, these have been built for you in your systems. This isn't something that you have to go out and do and worry about. One of the coolest things about this new test import tool that our development team recently shared with us is that if you didn't, for some reason, have an ACT test built in your system, the first time you go to import ACT scores, it's going to notice that. Our new tool will notice that, and it's going to build these tests out for you. So what that means, and that's the community aspect of this, by the way, and I'll show you that screen as well in a bit. But what that means is if you have a more local test here in Ohio that another district is using and has built and shared out, you will be able to pull that in, and the tool is built to find that template for you within our community system. So it's really actually cool. The other thing I want to show you, just as an example of where we're going with this, with the Ohio State tests, the formatting of that file changed back in December 2023, so just over a year ago. And when we started to get those new results, that's when we really noticed that our old system no longer worked with the new files. And so what some of our districts want is a way to import these test scores using or in such a way where all of the tests are listed on one page. And I'll show you that example in a moment. And what I mean is the way the OCBAs are listed in a student's test results page is it lists all the subscores for any test they took in that time frame all at once. What some of our districts have requested is the opportunity to break those out into subject area or grade level subject area. So I'll show you some examples of that. When I go to this student, again, scrambled data, this student's test score screen, the way it's looked in the past, the way you're used to with the state test scores, is something like this. So all of the subtests listed on one screen, and you may still prefer it this way, by the way, and you will still have the opportunity to have it listed this way. So I can see that she took the ELA test that time around, and then if I go down further, her math and also her science. And if she had any subscore values, it would be listed here. It does give me a proficiency level over here. That all came in with the import. The difference is the way you could do it, and you'll have the option with the new test import tool, is a couple of our districts have requested that it's more by subject area. So instead, it would import this way with the new Ohio State tests. I could click in here, and I would only see my algebra test because it's listed separately. All right, so that's just one option you'll have with the new tool. But the example I'll be showing you in a moment here is with the ACT, because that's what we're ready to go on. We're ready for our controlled availability districts to start importing ACT and SAT scores with this new tool. And that's where I'm going next. I'm going to go back to my home screen here, my start page. And I do want to show you, again, all found under District Management, Academics. I want to show you first the test results builder. I'll be honest, you won't spend much time as a user in our district on this page. If you want to build tests, you are welcome to come out here and do so. If you want to see what tests are available, this is the place you'd come. I do want to point out that I currently have no test mapping. So this is where I would find the test mappings. In other words, taking the standardized tests that we saw on the other core PowerSchool page, and we have created the mappings for them. But in my current train environment, I don't have those here yet, but I can go over to community and I can pull those in now. So I have the opportunity to download and bring into my system the SAT and the ACT. So I'm going to go ahead just as a demonstration and show you that. So I'm going to bring the SAT in. It found the standardized test, and it's showing you all the subtests that are available within that test. If that was the wrong test, I could map it to the correct one. All right, but I do want it to go to the SAT that I have built in my system. And now it's downloaded. And now I have access to that mapping for my test imports. All right. I do want to point out that I'm not going to download ACT because I'm going to demonstrate another great piece of the functionality here that I kind of briefly mentioned earlier. And so over here, I have all the tests listed. I do want to not to confuse the point, but I am going to flip over for just a moment to a different environment and just simply show you this screen so you can see what we've been working on. Once again, we've built out the mappings for the formerly known as the OCBA test, or those state test scores that came in prior to fall 2023. So that mapping is built out for you. We've also built out all the mappings for the general OST. So you can see in our description, it includes all OST scores and subscores. All right, so there's a lot of them, as you can see, and you can see the total mappings out here. What we've also done, again, because it's optional for you now, once we get this rolling, you'll be able to choose between using this general OST to import all your scores into, or you could instead download out of the community the individualized OST scores if you would rather categorize your scores that way from the student perspective. And again, just kind of touching back as a reminder, this is what a student would see or a parent would see in the public portal if you choose to display this. Touching back to Sally's presentation earlier, you probably all know now that we have that customization again, which allows our state test results to display over there. So again, you may not be worried about what's displaying from here in the public portal, but it is an option to display these scores in the public portal as well. That was our former way of displaying test scores. So just wanted to show you that, what we're working on currently. We're not quite there yet with the OSTs. So kudos to our development team. Zach and Corey have been working hard on this one to align all of these scores to be able to import into PowerSchool for you. So I'm going to pop back over here. They're right there. So again, I'm back in the original train environment, and the more common place you'll be spending time once we get this off the ground is in the test results loader. So I'm going to click on district management, academics, and then test results loader. Now I do want to point out in your current SIS, you will not see these two options because we have not rolled them out to our districts yet. So don't fear. We are going to roll them out to our controlled availability districts first. They will see them. They'll be able to use them. We just didn't want to confuse the point today, put this out there for everyone, a tool that you weren't sure how to use and wasn't 100% ready to go for everybody. So we're going to go to the test results loader next. And some of you have seen a page just like this before, because this is what our current ACT import tool looks like. And consider this the beefed up version of that system. What's also nice about this new test results loader is not only is it looking for your matched, what students it can match to, and I'll show you that here momentarily, but it also, instead of warning you about duplicates, it can simply overwrite the scores that were already in there. And you'll see an example of that here. So what happens sometimes is someone in your district wants to manually enter ACT scores because they really want to get it on a student transcript. If you're displaying scores on your transcript from the core test results, some of you are, some of you are not. And then someone else in your district, or maybe the same person, will come here and import a whole batch of scores. some of which have already been imported. So kind of fixing several problems at the same time here. All right, so I'm going to go get my file here and show you how this works. What it's doing first is it's saying, okay, you don't have the mappings in your test results builder for the ACT score yet, because remember, I did not download the ACT mappings from the community. I only downloaded the SAT. So if you don't have the mappings available to you, what this new program does is it pulls those mappings in. It matches it to a test that you have based upon the fields it's finding on this import file. And it's saying, okay, I know you need the ACT mappings for the file you're trying to import, so we're going to bring those in for you. So I'm going to agree to that. Now what it does is it looks for matches in your system for your students. And we get some nice color coding here to show me what matched and what did not. I intentionally modified some of the scrambled data so that we did have some unmatched, some no matches. So I can show you how that works. But the majority of my students did match. Maybe Chrissy was Christine or Christina. So you get a partial match down here. And I have the option down here to import. I'm not going to do that quite yet because when I click import, it's going to import all these matched records for me. Now I have 31 records total in my file. I know that because I checked before. And I have 26 matched. That's good news, but 5 not matched, and that's not great news. So I'm going to click into each one of these using the student number, which is hyperlinked. And I am getting a confidence rate, by the way, to tell me how close the match is. So I'll click into the student number, and immediately it finds that student because the only thing that was different was the student's gender. And so it did find that there's a close match. If I agree to that, yes, Matthew is the student I was looking for with that student number, I'm going to select Matthew, and Matthew now appears on my matched record. And notice that it does go up 1. And so I can do the same thing here. Jordan is the name that's listed in our PowerSchool SIS, but they use the name Joe. And so when they took the ACT, they used the name Joe. And so I'm going to put Joe into the matched. And I will just go through, and it won't always be that close of an exact match, but because I only changed one thing for the purposes of the example, it's really easy for me to match. Sometimes you'll get multiple results here. It'll be asking you which student are you trying to match this to. Maybe Abigail was Abby when they took the test, and Andy was Andrew in the SIS. So now I've got all my records matched, and I'm going to import this file. So I click import down here. And I have my results. So 16 records were inserted, 10 were updated on here. And so we can go up here and I'm going to just slide over and find out which ones were inserted and which ones were updated. So you can see in the final column to the right, notice that I had to slide over to see that. Now I did intentionally leave some of these scores because in my testing here, I want you to know that I did import this exact file with these exact scores and these exact students prior to this. So what it did was it just overwrote or left alone some of those test records because it found that they already existed in there. But it's showing me which ones are there and which ones it updated and which ones it inserted. All right, so with all that in mind here, again, we're seeking controlled availability districts, specifically districts who have ACT scores to import and SAT scores to import that have not imported them into the core test side yet. So likely that would be more recent scores from this year, this past summer, possibly even last winter and spring if you haven't imported those yet. Again, not all of our districts are importing their scores into test results, but whether you have or have not in the past, you are welcome to join this group. We're going to ask that you put in a case to our support channel, ps.support@metasolutions.net, and asked to be part of the test results loader controlled availability group. And when you do, you'll be contacted at a further date, and we will invite you to the first meeting. Sally or Eric or anyone else on the team, anything that, maybe even Corey, anything that I missed there that should be said?
No, I don't. That was great.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Fantastic. So yeah, reach out to us if you're interested in being a part of this group, and we're excited to get this off the ground, and we're excited to eventually get to the state test part as well, coming soon. Thanks.
All right. I think last but not least, I believe we have a couple of quick PowerScheduler updates.
Yes, we do. Make sure that you can see my screen.
Looks good.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So first of all, I'll make this pretty brief. We have been in touch with all of our schedulers. I actually sent a email out on Monday, just kind of with some updates and some updates on our trainings and things like that. So these are just some PowerScheduler reminders. The trainings are on the calendar. They are on the event. They are now updated on Eventbrite, I believe through March. Our schedulers can sign up 2 weeks prior to those events. So those should be all on there. They should be able to sign up for the ones exactly 2 weeks before the training date. Our PowerSchedule virtual training sessions are held on Tuesdays. They are sign-ups once again 2 weeks ahead of time. One scheduler signs up and then gives their other schedulers the team's link. And then what we'll do is we provide breakout rooms for each of those to each building so that the schedulers can work together with us. There are 1 hour sessions. They do have a specific time on Eventbrite. We're more than happy to have them stay for the entire day, as we are in and out of breakout rooms all day. And then, if they need help, we can help them as needed. Most schedulers like to just stay for that hour, go back and maybe work in their own district, and then, maybe sign up for another individual session. We also have the PowerScheduler in-person work days, which each individual will sign up individually, because that way we know that we can accommodate everyone that signs up for those in-person sessions. And we do have those on the calendar as well. Those are between Marion and Columbus. We rotate, and we added Strongsville in there this year as well. So we do have a couple in-person sessions there. We do ask that you reiterate to your schedulers if they need to cancel, to encourage them to please let us know a day in advance. That way, someone else can take that spot if needed. So that's just a few reminders on our trainings. Our virtual sessions, we have the automated scheduler setup. And you can check in with your schedulers. Have they completed this step? That might be something that you want to ask them. If not, we do have, I believe, one more of those set up, I believe, on the February 13th. Yes, for 4/24/25, yep. But we do have those out on the YouTube channel as well. And then step 3, the student staff course setup. Let's see, those are individualized sessions. So those schedulers will need to sign up for a time for that. And we do have those on the schedule as well. Step 4 is the online student requests and teacher recommendations. We do have, that's a group session. We do have one scheduled January 24th, and we also have another one scheduled on February 27th. Those are both in the morning from 9 to 11:30. It's called Student Requests Setup and Teacher Recommendations on Eventbrite, but it does have that step 4 initial on there as well. And new this year, we do have Basecamp, which gives your schedulers some sort of to-do lists. This is an easy way for your schedulers to keep track of what they've done and what needs to be done. It's also a way that we can go in and look at what they've done. That way we can prepare ourselves when we have those individual sessions with the schedulers, kind of where they are in their progress. We have linked the documentation to each of those steps, the various steps. So if they need clarification while going through those steps, we do have our meta documentation attached to that, which has, become really helpful. So if you touch base with your scheduler and they have not received an invitation to our Basecamp, please have them reach out to us and we will get that sent to them right away. And lastly, our final day in PowerScheduler is June 13th. And right now in January, we think that's a long way away, but it's probably going to sneak up on us just like the rest of the year has. So just make a note in your calendars that final day in PowerScheduler is June 13th. We will be doing additional scheduling after that on the live side after end of year, but that final day in the scheduler is June 13th. As always, if you have any questions, if you have just any general information that you need to give us, please reach out at ps.scheduling.support@metasolutions.net.
Thank you. Speaking of the June 13th date, so our next district leader meeting, again, we go every other month. Next DL meeting will be Thursday, March 13th. At that meeting, we'll definitely start to crack open and look at the end of year schedule. Just kind of a little bit of a preview, I guess, is this year similar to last year. We will initiate end of years the week of June 9th through the 13th. Even though PowerScheduler, you can use it through the 13th, we do have some districts who don't use PowerScheduler. So we'll be able to initiate those a little bit earlier as long as it works with their last day of school, etc. And then we'll be pretty heavy into the end of year processing the week of the 16th through the 20th, as well as the week of the 23rd to the 27th, all of those being June dates. So more details to come. I just want to kind of give you a quick sneak peek of that. It's hard to believe it's January and we're already talking about it, but anything else, folks? Anything on our side, Meta team? Do apologize for going long. I do think that hopefully you found some of the information regarding the security breach helpful. As I indicated multiple times, if you have any needs in relation to the security breach, don't hesitate to reach out. Again, this is new ground for us, new territory for us, so we're just kind of trying to figure this out as we go. All right. Thank you very much. Hope everybody has a great day.